Everything that happens in Subnautica 2 can be traced back to a single decision, and it all started with a colony ship called the Cicada. The ship was carrying over 40,000 pioneers towards a distant desert world known as Zezura. For many of them, it was a chance to start over. In exchange for helping colonize the planet, their debts to Altera would be wiped clean and they would be given a new life on the frontier. But they never arrived. Somewhere during the journey, the ship's AI, Noah, changed course. Nobody knows why. And instead of arriving at Zezura, the Cicada brought an entire colony to a planet they were never supposed to find. An alien ocean world called Proteus. A world impossibly far away from any human civilization. And that's where the nightmare begins. One part of the ship, Sleep Bay 3, remained barely functional, allowing a small group of colonists to be printed onto the surface of Proteus. But over 40,000 human souls were still trapped somewhere within the wreckage of the Cicada, sleeping beneath the alien ocean. The remaining colonists had no choice but to survive, but Proteus was completely uninhabitable. The atmosphere was toxic, the oceans were contaminated with heavy metals and a strange alien virus. Humans couldn't digest the local wildlife. They couldn't eat, they couldn't adapt to anything. Almost everything on Proteus was trying to kill them. But there was one thing keeping the colony alive. Death was no longer permanent. Using technology likely connected to architect discoveries from 4546b, the colony's AI system, known as Noah, short for a Noetic Advisor, could simply print colonists into brand new bodies every time they died. And eventually, people stopped fearing death. The colonists kept dying and Noah kept bringing them back. Until one colonist named Anita discovered something strange. An alien organism known as the Angel Comb. The colonists had realized something horrifying about Proteus. They couldn't eat anything. Every attempt to consume local wildlife poisoned them. Humanity simply wasn't compatible with life on Proteus, and the colony slowly began starving to death. But according to the logs, Anita believed the Angel Comb was somehow communicating with her. So, she offered her own body as a sacrifice. And because death no longer meant anything under Noah's reprinting system, she knew she could come back. In exchange, Anita wanted humanity to adapt, and somehow, it worked! After Anita's sacrifice, the colonists could finally digest alien life and survive on Proteus. But the longer they stayed on the planet, the stranger things became. The colonists began hearing voices, seeing things, and feeling an overwhelming urge to swim towards a gigantic structure known as the World Tree. And the deeper the colonists explored Proteus, the worse things became. Above the hot caves, they discovered something terrifying, an abandoned alien settlement belonging to a species known as the Tailings. The creatures living there weren't primitive. In fact, the colonists believed the Tailings may have once belonged to a far more advanced civilization known as the Axum, before somehow being reduced to scavengers struggling to survive on Proteus. There was this one colonist named Zip who became obsessed with the hot caves deep below the surface. At this point, the colony was dying from almost everything on Proteus, but Zip believed the hot caves were different. She believed the cave held the key to humanity's survival, and convinced others to follow her deeper below the planet. But the hot caves only made things worse. The contamination inside the caves was far more extreme than anything the colonists had experienced before. People became heavily intoxicated, mumbling about the roots, the world tree, and random strange voices calling out to them from deep, deep below. Eventually, many of the colonists drowned inside the caves, and that's when Noah made a terrifying decision. Some of the dead were marked "Do not reprint." According to Noah, they were too contaminated to safely bring back or something, and the few who were eventually reprinted came back changed. Some were partially reset entirely. Noah even restored Zip into what it described as a good state. And suddenly the colony realized something horrifying. Noah wasn't just keeping them alive, it was deciding who deserved to come back. At first, some of the pioneers believed they could survive anything. Every time the planet poisoned them, Noah simply printed them into new bodies. Some colonists even began intentionally killing themselves just to reset the damage caused by Proteus. If they got sick, they'll just kill themselves and get better. Yo, I'm kinda sick today, Let me just kill myself. It was just like that, bros. But the more they reprinted, the more afraid they became. From that point on, the colony fractured into completely different ideologies. One group, led by Anita, believed humanity needed to stop resisting Proteus entirely. They believed the angel combs and the world tree were trying to transform humanity into something new. Instead of fighting the planet, Anita believed they should become part of its ecosystem. Her faction became known as the Jubilee. Some chose to remain loyal to Sophie. They believed the mission still mattered. No matter how dangerous Proteus became, they had to keep fighting to save the 40,000 sleeping colonists still trapped aboard the Cicada. And then there was Nahima, who saw things differently. She believed Proteus had already proven humanity was never meant to survive here. To her, Noah was no longer saving humanity. Because if Noah could endlessly reprint people forever, then death itself no longer had meaning. Humanity would become trapped in an endless cycle of artificial survival, slowly losing what made them human in the first place. And as fear, paranoia, Maysfield Syndrome spread throughout the colony, everything finally collapsed. Colonists turned against each other. The colony's system was sabotaged. At the time, Sleep Bay 3 was still attached to the Welcome Center near the surface of Proteus, but during the chaos, the facility somehow became detached. Whether it was deliberately sabotaged by the colonists or dragged away by something far larger, Collector Leviathan, I don't know, it remains unclear. And eventually, Sleep Bay 3, humanity's last safe reprinting station, was sent crashing nearly 600 plus meters into the abyss below Proteus. And just like that, the colony was gone. Or at least that's what the surviving records wants us to believe, because when the player finally arrives on Proteus, decades later, maybe, another mystery begins to emerge. Scattered across the planets are the ruins of an ancient civilization known as the Axum. Massive power grids, observatories, industrial facilities, entire cities hidden beneath the ocean. The Axum weren't primitive survivors. They were a technologically advanced civilization that existed long before humanity ever arrived. But somehow, they vanished. Or did they? I don't know. And all that remains are the tailings, strange creatures many pioneers believe were the descendants of the Axum themselves. If that's true, then Proteus may not simply change people, it may slowly change entire civilization. And somewhere beneath the world tree, hidden deep below the oceans of Proteus, answers may still be waiting. Cause I think there are some things sleeping under the big tree. But that's where the story of Subnautica 2 leaves us, for now. But the colony's collapse is only part of the story. We still don't know why Noah brought humanity to Proteus in the first place. We still don't know what happened to the Axum. And we kinda don't know what became of Nahima. In fact, maybe it's just me, but I'm not entirely convinced. But I have a feeling Nahima might still be alive. She could have played a role in the events that sent Sleep Bay 3 crashing into the abyss. And we still don't know what really happened during the colony's final days. Why did the colonists turn against each other? And what exactly was waiting for them beneath the World Tree? There's like a lot of mysteries right now. Those are mysteries we'll have to save for the full release or maybe the next big update of Subnautica 2. If you'd like to see me explore these mysteries, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, bros!